Hi folks, I'm Linda K. Gifford, and you are not your body, you have a body. And that's where we're going to start today with the final S in spades. Sorry to take so long to get started here. Every day is like that, though. I guess you're getting used to the pattern by now. When we go to podcast the week after next, 3 weeks, then we'll be on time. But this is really me working out the chapters of my book and laying them out for you. Laying out the C-PTSD Bible, essentially. How to get from trigger to happy. So, my book has turned into two. We are not just self-talk, my continuing efforts to survive childhood sexual grooming and assault, which was my program. That is now going to be more personal. And we are concentrating all of the spades, the surviving spades, how to get from trigger to happy program into this one, surviving spades, 6 steps from trigger to happy. And that's really, these workshops are growing and our influence is growing. I'm really happy to announce that I and Sweet have been asked to spread the message of the Consent Awareness Network. I've been encouraged to actually tell my own, I was going to say story, but I hate that word. You know, I'm out to change the language of society. So I'm out to change the word story to reality. What happened to me was not a story. And when we use words like story and when we call sexual assault, sexual abuse, it lightens it. It's not right. Abuse is not the same. As I said before, if I punch your face, you know, you're going to file assault charges. You're not going to say, you abused my face. Just, you know, so how can you rape somebody, anybody, much less a child, or trick them into sex or groom them? And this is where the Consent Awareness Network really is so important that I've added them onto the header of my page now. The legislation was non-existent before Joyce M. Short, who I consider the world's leading expert in, the person who started the ball rolling decades ago, a fellow survivor of both childhood sexual assault and sexual assault, who has defined what consent is. And this is very important for people like me and for people who were trafficked. If you're not kicking and screaming and fighting back and saying no, whether you're a child or somebody who's been sex trafficked, somebody who's been groomed, somebody who's been tricked. Joyce Short was actually one of her assailants was actually someone who tricked her, told her he was somebody completely else, just created a relationship she was voluntarily in. But when you find out someone's completely tricked you just to get in your pants, that is also a violation. So consent, and here's the hashtag Joyce Short asked me to share with you that she created. Okay, consent is freely given, knowledgeable, informed agreement. FGKIA. Freely given, knowledgeable, informed agreement. That is consent. And that is the legislation that they are trying to establish. And I am now joining in. Sweet Survivor is glad to be invited, and I'm happy to be an ambassador. So, with that comes the responsibility of actually, instead of keeping it offset, I'm a neuro-linguistic practitioner. I talk to you. I work with you. I tell you how to overcome triggers. I talk about the world at large and advocate and educate, and I give you little snippets, but I've never really told you what happened to me. And that's what I'm going to be doing, essentially, as an ambassador, a fellow ambassador, I would call it, for the Consent Awareness Network. You need to understand how grooming works You have to understand why we don't fight back. And you need to, I think you can understand that already. I think you can get that. I think I've explained it to you, and even if I didn't, I think most people can understand that a child raised in an environment where this is develops over time, and for everything I've talked about in the last 5 weeks, we have every reason not to say anything, not to fight back. We are conditioned. And my job is to personally uncondition you, to reprogram your mind, frankly, just the same way I have done with mine. It's taken 23 years, a lot of research, a lot of falling into things, a lot of therapies that didn't work, tried antidepressants and crap. You know, I never made it more than a day or two on any of them, really. That stuff is not helpful with C-PTSD. That is what everyone's taking. That's what all the doctors are prescribing. That is what the medical establishment deems appropriate. And it is not. If you have C-PTSD, you have it jumbled up. They're absolutely solid pieces of memories. They're real. But your brain would not put them into context. The amygdala isn't doing this because this is where the amygdala is. It's your fight or flight center. And in people with C-PTSD, it is now scientifically proven across the board that the amygdala is enlarged. And that is because the fight or flight is the way our brains developed. So the younger a child you were when your abuse started, the more programmed you were into it. And you are not responsible for anything that happened to you. That's the first test. The shame is not yours. Quick review. The shame is not yours. We talked about that at length. I can talk about it forever, and I intend to. We'll start back at the top when we get through with today, the Spirit Week. So, P, separate the past from the present. Oddly enough, D is not dissociation. That's a whole other thing. In my acronym, S, the shame is not yours. P, separate the past from the present, which we have to do to avoid C-PTSD events, to not jump into rabbit holes. That we will work on every day of our lives. That's what we'll do. We know there's no graduation day for survivors, but there's a club, and we all take care of each other. And we need to change society. So we have to, D, dive right in. We have to not hide. We have to learn what we do to remove ourselves. We need to get back in there. And E, we have to educate and advocate. We have to educate and advocate for change. Because if we just change personally, if we just do the work to fix ourselves personally, and then go back into hiding, then we're allowing our assailants, not abusers, our assailants, because we were assaulted. We were sexually assaulted as children, not as abused. And our assailants are out there. You got to get them off the streets, and you've got to change the streets. And this is where Joyce Short, God bless her, really opened my mind to the idea that the legislation for consent is the most important thing besides our personal healing, because morality changes when laws do. It was perfectly acceptable to rape your slaves in the South until the law said it wasn't, and then over time morality came to meet. Even now, rape is considered abhorrent in the South. But it was not until the law changed. It was not until the law changed. So we have to change the law. So the Consent Action Network, I need you to go there. I need you to call the numbers, tell them how you feel, tell them you want legislation, tell them your personal story, tell them the stories of anybody you know, tell them stories of people you've seen on YouTube that you don't want to go through this. You need to go to the Consent Awareness Network and see what you can do. Because until little children and groomed teenagers And sex trafficking victims are not considered to have been violated because they didn't fight back. That's ridiculous. That's insane. You know it, and it makes me angry. I was accused of being so angry by my sister recently, who cut me off and said she never wants to speak to me again, even though whatever they said online, that's a lie. That's trying to keep her out of a mental hospital, I think, and I'm sorry for that. But she wasn't even involved in any of this. She just doesn't think it's appropriate. Nobody thinks it's appropriate to talk about. I get it. So when is it going to change? How many more little girls are going to grow up being groomed and sexually violated and accept it as a way of life and take it into their adulthood before we do something about it? So yes, today I am going to talk more about the S in spades, the final S in spades, but I really needed to throw that in there because I was just asked within the last week, I was just contacted by Joyce Short herself and asked to participate, and I am so overwhelmed and I'm so honored to be seen, for Sweet Survivor to be seen and offered the chance to join in. Okay, so the other thing I want you to know, because we do this tomorrow too, and I always do 2 days because whatever I don't get to or drift off of, I can cover tomorrow. So I do want to add in, this is very important, and it was in the Educate and Advocate, but I really need you to know every week, every time we talk, Thorn is the people to report. THORN. Ashton Kutcher founded it with Demi Moore, his then wife. He has since run it. It is his full-time job. It is his full-time job to run Thorn. And what they have grown into is over a decade of cyber capabilities that now connects local, regional, federal police agencies, military in multiple countries, and private agencies. They all can coordinate. It's one centralized place. And the problem is people are afraid to report. People are scared to report. And one of the reasons I was late today is because somebody, an associate of mine yesterday, was fired upon with a converted, what looked like a sawed-off shotgun, I was told, but converted into an automatic weapon that after 6 shots got fired, got jammed. That's an associate. We're trying to do good in the world. This is an associate in a different but related field, trying to do good in the world. We need to fix society so that it is a safer place. And Thorn has the capability to do the cyber research. So if you don't want to tell, if you're scared, if you're afraid, like, what if it's perfectly fine and I'm just going to narc out my neighbor and get him in all this trouble, or the guy down the street, then Thorn will do that research anonymously. And if you're afraid of them, my chat box is devoted to both things. People buy things. Please, I need you to buy the things at the store because we support women artisans. But also, that chat box is for you to give me anonymous information. I will delete the source immediately. I will forward that information to Thorn for you. I already am threatened. I already pack in states where it's legal, and I'm trained and really good. And I'm saying we have to do more. So please join the Sweet Hero Action Teams. SweetSurvivor.com. But let's get back to the subject matter. Oh, also, if you're in trouble right now, call RAIN, 1-800-656-4673. If you need help right now, that number, 1-800-656-4673. Look at my trailers, it's on there. That will take you, it'll be routed to the closest regional center where you can get some advice, get some help. And the bigger we grow Sweet Survivor, the more help we can provide. So I'd also like you to start a $5 monthly subscription. And it's a shocking few number of my friends that have $5 monthly subscriptions. I mean, wow, how many drinks have I bought you? I'm just saying. $5 a month, Sweet needs it. So the final S in spades, spirit, gets kind of catchy, gets kind of tricky, because people get scared of it's going to be religion, you know. Oh, you're going to talk religion? No, I'm not. I'm not going to talk religion though either. Spirit and religion itself. These are things that are highly definable and interpretable to the individual. That's hard. Interpretable to the individual. That's a tongue twister. I'm gonna write that one down. And we need to stop fighting about it and accept each other's religions, but not their culture. If their culture disparages against anybody. So if you like your religion, as I was saying last time, then keep the love and the goodness and the kindness and the potluck dinners and the singing and the love back to the top. But you need to fix it from within. You need to not let your religion disparage against anyone. You need to not let your religion tell you that your father has the right to own your vagina and to make you make babies with some and keep you saved and pure so that you can make babies with somebody that helps them with a family connection or a business partner. Seriously, it's your body. It's your life. It's your vajayjay. You. How can you, I'm talking to you now if you're that person, how can you allow yourself to be given, bought, sold, traded? And a lot of people, it's because they don't have a choice. They feel desperate. They don't have a choice. They don't even feel desperate in a lot of places. They're so used to being traded for cows, they're glad when they get more wives. Refer to my last live stream. The woman that was just glad to get, after being traded for a cow by her father, which is normal practice in that rural part of Africa. She was just grateful when another girl got basically traded for another piece of livestock and brought. And then she didn't have to get raped alone. And then when the third wife came, they're happy. Now they've got someone to talk to because they're all isolated in the woods. And this is their life, you know? And then you think, oh, well, the little rich princesses. Well, what about the little rich princesses that get locked up and you never see them again? Yeah, they may have a hot tub and a chef, but they're not allowed to leave literally the castle because they have dissented. I will talk about her. Not going into that right now. How about being anywhere in a traditional Muslim country where the shame on the family? I mean, you can't even get away. And if you could get away, then you'd have to disassociate from your entire family. We have to change our religions from within. We have to change our society. Any religion is based on a couple of things. We're going to get deep here. Society had to come together to survive. We learned that we would pick each other up. We would nurse the sick. We would feed the ill and the weak. If we didn't like them, we'd kill them. If we did, we'd take care of them. Well, our own tribe we used to take care of. And the problem is, when we run into other tribes, we stop thinking of them as people, right? Well, there's a whole division between men and women that's very similar to this tribe. There's the tribe of men and the tribe of women, and then, oh my God, God bless the others in the world who are usually just killed outright, you know, and they don't even have a chance to get married off and given and traded and commoditized. So we need to change that. So there's two parts of spirit. One, that's the outside of spirit. The outside world, it's interpretation of spirit. It is your responsibility, just like it's mine, to change that. You can't just float with the way it is any more than you can just float, like I was talking about legislation earlier, or nothing will change. You can't just do personal healing. My program will help you. It helps lots of people. It helps me. But it's not going to change the world unless you do the E, educate and advocate. And it's not going to holistically come together unless you understand that your body is yours. And here's the flip side of spirit, the inside of spirit. You are not your body. You have a body. Whatever's in there, whether there's another life or a bunch or none, or they're going to, I don't know, maybe the aliens are going to mine our souls and make us break rock. I don't know what's next. I kind of do, actually, because I died once. I think it's a beautiful, I'll tell you all about that, but not right now. Whatever. It's irrelevant. What's relevant is now. What's relevant is each other. And if society has gotten to the point that we no longer care about even the people in our own tribe, we're fucked. I'm not supposed to cuss. We're screwed. But goddamn, we're fucked. We can't do that. We have to change. So the spirit on the inside, you've been told as a CPTSD survivor that, and I'm assuming if you're here, you were sexually assaulted or groomed and assaulted for years as a child like I was. And it's just so easy to dissociate. We talk all about that in the P in Spades. It's all on YouTube. There's a library. I'm trying to catch it up. I'm no good at the YouTube thing, but I'm getting better. I could use a personal assistant if anybody wants to volunteer. But you, on the inside, know that you can think. You can hear your thoughts. You can create visions in your mind. You can think of a piece of artwork or something. That's your spirit. That's your spirit. God forbid I was ever made a paraplegic, but should it happen, I love thinking so much, I'm still going to be glad to be alive, I hope, because my spirit is all that other stuff. This is my body. This is your body. But your spirit, whether it goes on or not, it's what's going on right now. It's what's going on right now. So the only way that you're going to have the ability to be an authentic partner to someone else, and the only way you're going to have the ability to understand that sex goes two ways, and if you find a deep love bond, vet them through the head and the ethics and all of that, and if you don't want to fuck them, sleep with them, then they're a friend. Then you call them a good friend. But if at the point that you think they're an awesome person, you've known them for months, if you're a CPTSD survivor, you give it months. 2 minimum, promise me. 2 to 6. But you should know someone. You should hang out with them. You should know their family. Google them. Don't be a fool. I even Googled my husband before we got together, and I'd known him for 30 years with a 27-year gap. So, respect yourself, because until you do, you're going to be a performance artist, and that is what I was, and I didn't know it. It took me years to figure it out. That's why I want to just fast track you guys. Fast track, you know? Fast track. Everyone seem mad about you? I love how they fast track. Anyway, what you need to do is super simple. Only what you want to. Only what feels right to you. And so many CPTSD survivors just have sex. They think they like it, but they feel bad. They feel promiscuous and they make excuses. Or else they don't want to, but they feel cornered and then they do it. Or they're with a friend who likes them more than they like them, but they don't want to hurt their feelings, so they do it. Or, you know, they really like someone, but it's just too soon for them, but the other person wants to do it, and they're afraid they're going to lose them if they don't do it, so they do it. It's like, no, you make your decisions for you. You come first. Because only then, when you bring your authentic self, will you be able to see what fits you, what you will like forever. You want to be miserable forever, or do you want a lover who talks to you, who's amazing, who's in tune with you? I've got that, but I didn't before, and it wasn't their fault, but they weren't the right fit. But I wasn't looking for right fit because no one told me how to. So I'm going to tell you how to, because 3 marriages and 3 divorces sucks. And it sucked for my husband's too. And I'm glad, very glad to end up where I am. But I realize the responsibility I have in there too. So, manifesting, I'm going to wrap with, just think of manifesting, because people get all scared here. Oh, hippy dippy, manifest. Ew. It's like, no, manifesting is just removing things you don't want. If you don't like that job, no, you can't quit. You have to keep a roof over your head. You have to be responsible. You're going to feed your children. You don't just run. I'm saying within the realm of obvious responsibility as a decent human being, a member of society and in your family, you speak the truth, you work hard, and you start changing things little by little, one by one, as you can, until you feel you're in the place you can be. You know, I spent 14 years alone raising my children because I did not want the interference of a relationship. And that's not really, I see now that wasn't the whole truth. The whole truth was I couldn't be in a relationship and raise my children because I hadn't done this personal healing yet. So when the shit hit the fan, and I had a blackout 3 years ago and started writing, and then got asked by university professors, I got 7,000 readers in just under 3 weeks when I posted excerpts from my book. Just one post. And here we are with a publicity deal with the biggest publisher of self-help books in the world, Bradley Group. Steve Harrison, they do Rich Dad Poor Dad and Chicken Soup for the Soul, and they've published Joyce Short's book on consent, and she's got 4 books. And I'm just Kelly Ann's Bone Broth Diet. This is who's going to do the book. And there's going to be a Kickstarter soon too, because it is a pay to play, but I'm accepted. And I take that accepted. And they've been working with me on teaching me what we need to do to grow. You know, I've ranted and raved on here forever, but it's serious. We are serious now. It's frighteningly serious now, but it's amazingly serious. I am so excited. I'm so excited. Please go to the CAN network. CAN, Consent Awareness Network. It is consentawareness.net. And call the members, email the people, tell them you want consent legislation. Realize that changing the law is what is going to change the morality. And that is not me speaking, that is Joyce M. Short, and I am grateful for the message because it is now part of everything we're going to do here with Sweet Survivor. Report to Thorn. Tomorrow we're going to talk about belief. Tomorrow we're going to talk extensively about belief. And I may work up the courage to tell you my personal story. See, courage, I do all of this and I'm talking about courage. But it's very, very hard to discuss what happened to me in a straight up way for longer than a few sentences. And I'm going to have to get over that now because I am going to be an ambassador for consent awareness. And that means I have to tell them why. And that means my reality changed the language of society, not story. So I'm going to make an attempt at doing that tomorrow. It tends to kind of get me into a C-PTSD, like walking the line of jumping in the rabbit hole place. And that is why I'm an NLP, because I realized and I learned, and all the science backs it up, that talk therapy, which is what you guys do. You go from counselor to counselor, from therapist to therapist. You spend tons of money. You take all these pills that kill your libido and change who you are. And instead, you could reprogram your mind in a few free sessions. Or you could do 6 to 8 sessions of EMDR, although people report having permanent cures even years after in follow-up after one. I can't do it because I'm autistic, and when I do this, I feel like my brain's going to explode. You have to go back and forth with EMDR. But the thing is, talking for someone with C-PTSD, because of all those jumbled memories, they're real, but they're in fragments. Because your brain could not add them up, and you couldn't go out and be normal. I had to go out and perform. I had to be on the tumbling team. I had to pass my tests. I had to, I was first seat flautist. I was honor society. I was an overachiever because I was making up for everything. And I'm in a family with, my parents were wonderful. My assaulter wasn't a family member. He wasn't a family member, but, married in. You have to present, so you separate. So this dissociation, you got to put it over here. And the more you talk about it and bounce from person to person, well, this didn't work. Well, of course it didn't work. So then you go talk to someone else. And you are reliving your trauma over and over again when what you need to do is see it in such a way that the left side, the hippocampus, goes, I can read that. I can see the pictures. I like to show you my breakthrough notebook where I didn't know how it was going to start, but I was like, okay, there we are hanging out. He's nice. He pays attention to me. 10-ish. And then we're drinking grape juice and gin. These are memories that came to me, and it wasn't until I drew them, because when I talk about them, you get upset, and then the doctor gives you drugs. But when you draw them and you see what was done to you, you see the hand in your pants, and you see them shoving their cock in your mouth, and you remember that you were a child, and now I can talk about it. I don't have to hide it. I can be a warrior for change, and I need you to be a warrior for change too. And not because I care about you, not that I don't, but it's because if you aren't, nothing will change. You've got to move beyond your personal growth. You have to. I don't even work with people that aren't trying. I work with people that want to turn into advocates. That's who I counsel. You go to if you want to be drugged up or whatever, go to a psychotherapist. I smoke marijuana, little bits, little tiny hitters at a time. It's legal where I live, and it is calming for me. I am very interested in microdosing, but because of the lack of research and standardization, it's too dangerous to just do on your own. So if you can find a professional, and I don't even know if those exist. But the microdosing evidence, which I've been studying, is a very different effect than an antidepressant. Because of increasing connectivity. It actually helps you to reprocess. But here's your homework. And we're going to talk about belief tomorrow. And the fix or flee with religion. But your homework is, I have to decide. I had two different things. Okay. I want you to, like I said, it's often homework. Okay, I want you to make a list of, you're always going to have a 2-column list, and in the 1 column, you state your thoughts or your fears or this time we're talking spirit. So your discontent, what you don't like about what you're being made to do in your life. Maybe you don't like having an arranged marriage. Maybe you don't like not being able to have orgasms because your husband could give a shit, or wife, or whoever. I am very non-gender specific here. We love everybody. We just want you to love each other appropriately, with consent, with, as Joyce Short says, and the hashtag I want you to use, and I'm going to leave you with that. Please use this hashtag to draw awareness. Both CAN and hashtag FGKIA. Freely given, knowledgeable, informed consent. A groomed child, adolescent, teen, cannot give that. Nor did they fight back or say no. So there has to be legislation to protect us. I'm going to talk to you tomorrow about belief. Okay? Pardon, I've got like 2 cameras going because my computer crashed. So I'm probably looking more at TikTok than Facebook here today. We'll see how it all turns out. But these will go to YouTube later after they load. Bye-bye. They do weird filters. I look way older than this. Yeah. You're going to be scared, like, when I show up, and they're going to be like, where's your daughter? Like, no, it's me. But thank you, filters, and please can you put it in a jar? Somebody. Okay, bye. That being said, L'Oreal Regenerist, 6 times a day.